I'm Brent James, Intermountain Healthcare's Chief Quality Officer and head of the Intermountain Institute for Healthcare Delivery Research. Welcome to the first module in Intermountain's 100% participation program. It is followed by 4 more modules. They're based around the idea that everyone in Intermountain has 2 jobs. Most of the time, you do your assigned work, but some of the time, your job is to improve how you do that work. As a member of the Intermountain team, you add value by recognizing that problems are opportunities for improvement, collaborating with your coworkers and perhaps a coach or manager to find the root causes of those problems, then taking accountability to permanently fix the problem that you have identified. Quality improvement is sometimes called data-based problem solving. In this module, we will cover 3 key definitions. We will then introduce 2 initial simple tools for data-based problem solving. More tools will come in later modules. This module concludes with an exercise, an assignment through which you will apply these tools to your own work. Once you've completed this video, you should debrief its content with your local improvement coach. That same person should be available to help as you do the hands-on exercise. 3 key definitions lie at the heart of process improvement. They are the terms process, outputs, which are sometimes also called outcomes, and customers. A process is a series of linked, often sequential steps designed to cause some set of outcomes to occur. Now the idea of causality is critical to the concept of process. The steps in the process cause the desired results. So is the idea of an end goal. Every process has a purpose. Processes convert inputs into outputs. They generate useful information or in some other way add value. Now, the idea of process is powerful. All productive work in any setting gets done through processes. Very often people don't directly think about the processes that make up their daily work. When people don't consciously recognize the processes they use, their work can tend to be a bit seat of the pants. It is often not thoughtfully designed and executed. Unplanned processes are more likely to fail, creating rework, hassle, and frustration. When people think of their work as a series of interacting processes, though, it makes them much more effective. The idea of process lays the foundation for data-based problem solving. Quality improvement is the science of process management. It is a proven set of tools to document, measure, design, and systematically improve processes. People often use flowcharts to show how processes function and fit together. Flowcharts come in different types. In later modules within Intermountain's quality improvement courses, you may encounter things like conceptual flow diagrams, decision flowcharts, and A3 diagrams. All of these are types of flowcharts, tools that teams use to document processes. At this point, though, you just need the idea of processes as a way of doing work. Outputs are the things that a work process produces for a customer. Yes, I know, it's a circular definition, but it works. Outputs fall into 3 general classes. First, all processes produce a physical outcome. That's the actual product, service, or other result that you produce, then pass along to another person, the customer. For most people, when they say quality, this is what they mean: the nature and features of physical outcomes. Now, for some clinical processes, physical outcomes are the same as medical outcomes. Medical outcomes include 4 major subcategories: appropriateness, complications, whether you reach treatment goals, and patient functional status. Number 2, every process also produces a service outcome. Service describes the interaction between a supplier and a customer as this transaction takes place, as evaluated by the customer. Beyond the quality of the supplier-customer relationship, service outcomes also include how easy it is for a customer to interact and communicate, such as time spent waiting, the customer's comfort, and general convenience. Finally, every process produces a cost outcome. Costs represent the time and resources that the process consumed to produce its physical and service outcomes. Quality improvement is unique in treating resources as an output from a process. Most other approaches think of them as inputs. Treating costs as an output gives quality theory a major advantage. From that foundation, you can prove that there are causal relationships between physical outcomes and cost outcomes. Most of the time, improving a process to achieve better physical outcome quality reduces the time, effort, and resources that go into producing the result. Now, intuitively, a customer is any person who uses a process's outputs. The formal definition is a little more complex. Technically, a customer is anyone who has expectations regarding a process's operation or outputs. This definition greatly expands the concept of a customer. For example, your supervisor has expectations about your processes and outputs. For clinicians, professional societies have expectations. Almost certainly your coworkers have expectations about your shared work activities. All of these groups are customers. The list can go on even further if you continue to think about all of the groups of people who may have expectations about your work processes and their outputs. Obviously, all of a process's customers are not created equal. In evaluating outputs, some hold much more important expectations than others. The people who directly use a process's physical outcomes are always the primary customers. To customers, quality is the degree to which we meet or exceed their expectations. That extends across any process's physical outcomes, but also its service outcomes and its cost outcomes. In healthcare, primary customer expectations follow some general patterns. Customers expect that they, first, will receive exactly what they need, defect-free. Second, it will be customized to their individual needs. Third, they'll get it on demand, exactly as requested. With fourth, immediate response to problems or changes. And with number 5, all waste eliminated, which means at the lowest necessary cost. They also expect that healthcare delivery will be as safe as possible for patients, but also for clinicians and staff, physically, emotionally, and professionally. That's a tall order, isn't it? It sets the ideal for good healthcare operations. With good process measurement, management improvement, though, an effective team can come surprisingly close to always hitting that target. With definitions for process, outputs, and customer in hand, we can introduce 2 very useful tools. The first is a practical way of collecting data. It's called a tally sheet. A tally sheet is any simple method for collecting data on the fly as you work. The idea is to put a means of recording an event right when and where that event happens, so that you can quickly make a record on the spot. Good tally sheets are hard to overlook by design. They serve as their own reminders so that people don't have to remember. They contain all of the necessary parts right there ready to use so that you don't have to track down anything else. For example, it may be a pocket spiral notebook that goes anywhere you go in your shirt pocket. It may be a piece of paper taped to the door of a patient room with a pen attached on a piece of string situated so that it is impossible to miss as you leave the room. It might be a pad of paper on your desk next to your telephone or a clipboard on a cart that has all the definitions necessary to correctly use the sheet right there on the sheet. Most likely, you will format your tally sheets relative to the information you want to track with sections, columns, and definitions. They are called tally sheets because one of the most common forms they take is an actual tally, a simple stroke of a pencil in a category on a sheet every time that event occurs. They can take many other forms as well. Now, there are other ways of getting data about a process. For example, sometimes you can find useful information in existing electronic data. However, if you have to modify your existing data system in any way to get what you need, it's nearly always faster and far easier to just run a tally. Tally sheets offer the ultimate in flexibility. You can learn as you go and modify what you collect as you learn. Tally sheets lie at the heart of database problem solving. Effective teams routinely use tally sheets to measure their processes and outputs as they work. After some period of time to accumulate data, team members pull together the information from their tally sheets, analyze the results, draw conclusions, and take effective action. We will cover tools for analysis and process change in later modules in this series. A second tool is a process outputs customer grid. A process outputs customer grid is just a matrix with 3 columns. Its purpose is to list the main processes that make up your daily work, along with their primary outputs and customers. That is the exercise assignment for this module. Would you please build a process outputs customer grid? Our aim is to give you a stronger sense of the processes that make up your own work. Your process outputs customer grid will also lay a foundation for further process management and improvement activities in subsequent modules. One of the best ways to build a process outputs customer grid is to start with a blank grid, then use it as a tally sheet. You can start at any point. For example, anytime you do something for someone, tally up who you did it for. That's the customer. Tally what you did for them. That's the output line. And come up with some name for the process you used to accomplish it. That's the process cell. Collect tally information for some reasonable length of time, maybe even a week or more, so that you can cover most of the key elements in your daily work. Then look at your accumulated list and identify general categories. Use that to build up a summary list. For example, while your tally sheet may list Brent, Terry, Charles, and Ann as customers, you may recognize that they are all coworkers for whom you generated the same general output using the same general process. Your summary list will contain a single entry with coworkers in the customer column rather than multiple entries for each individual. Your local coach can also provide real help with your process outputs customer grid. It's not just that your coach has done it before and can share that knowledge. Your coach can help you share across your team. Other people who do similar work in your area might have good ideas and insights that would advance your own work, especially in terms of recognizing general patterns around shared work processes. Of course, you don't need to wait for your coach. You might want to see what your colleagues are finding and share your own results as you go about your daily work activities.